Hello people of the world, and welcome to today's episode of Coffee Chats with Jax / the Unity Project. I am so sorry that it has taken me so long to make this second half of my video that I posted probably maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago. In that video I was reading a letter that I wrote about my time in eating disorder treatment, and I wanted to take this video to kind of finish up that letter to let you guys in on what my experience was like there. If you guys want to hear the beginning of the letter, then I will put a link to the first video in the description box below. If you guys remember it, cool. Here we go. The next morning and every morning after in RTC, I woke up at 5:15 to put a hospital gown on, walk out to the common area to be weighed and get my vitals taken. That, along with having to keep my bathroom door cracked open and not being allowed to flush my own toilet, was my least favorite part about being in residential treatment. It occurred to me pretty quickly that this was about to be an experience that I was never going to forget, and one that I really needed to pay attention for. My days were filled with groups, on therapy, on more groups, on check-ins in the hallway. It felt like what I called the therapy Olympics. I was also on this thing called restorative rest, which means that I was not allowed to do things like take out the trash or do any yoga standing up or slide on the ground in my fuzzy socks, which I would later be reprimanded by being told that it was not part of my movement plan. Very annoying. Breakfast on my first day really kicked my ass. I walked into a plate full of English muffins with butter, honey, a banana, and 2 hard-boiled eggs. And I thought it looked delicious, but I was really terrified. That was 3 times more food than I normally would allow myself to eat in the morning, and I didn't understand how I was supposed to come down and eat this, but then continue to eat however many more times that much that day. And that is when the exciting moment happened where I was brought my first cup of coffee. A lot was taken from me when I admitted to treatment, and I just expected coffee to be one of them. So when I was handed this cup of coffee, I was so freaking excited. I found my motivation, and it was that. But I was told that in order to keep my coffee privileges, I had to not have more than 4 supplements and 1 refusal for a week. A supplement was when we didn't finish a meal, we would have to fill out a supplement sheet and drink a supplement of Boost to make up for whatever we didn't have. Dogs over there. And a refusal was when we just refused altogether. That was my motivation. That was what was going to keep me going. So I got my coffee and I drank every last bit of it, and then I finished my cup of water, and then it was wartime. I looked at the English muffin, I picked it up, I took a bite, and I wanted to start crying because I didn't realize how good food could be. I couldn't remember the last time I had butter and honey as a combination together, and it just blew my mind. So then I took another bite and another, and then I was in some serious pain. Apparently, when someone has not eaten in a while, their body goes into this thing called survival mode. Basically, for people with eating disorders, that means that their stomach lining changes and their body doesn't remember how to absorb and process food. All of our hunger and fullness cues go away, and eating is something that we have to reteach ourselves and reteach our bodies how to do. That's when the fears came in. What was going to happen to my body if I ate? What would my parents say if they knew I was eating all this food? What would past abusers say? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to have to start feeling things? Am I going to feel unsafe? What the hell was going to happen? The next morning breakfast was even worse. I walked into a plate full of waffles. Waffles to me are an extremely sensitive topic. I think that's because waffles are something I always wish that I could eat. I don't know if it's because it's a Leslie Knope thing, which is totally legit, but waffles just strike me as something that free people eat. There's been many times in my past of being served waffles and not being able to eat them, so secretly throwing them away, or going over to my best friend's house to make waffles and watching her get to eat them, and I made waffle-shaped scrambled eggs because I wasn't allowed to eat waffles. But I knew that I wanted to be the girl that was allowed to eat whatever I wanted to eat. I knew that I wanted to be the girl that was free. I believed that if I ate those waffles, I would be that much more unworthy of love. So staring down at that plate, I completely lost it. I just started sobbing right there at the breakfast table and was extremely embarrassed until this sweet girl came up to me. She was like, "Jackie, when you're done, I have to show you something that's going to make you really happy." So I just decided to be done. I threw my plate away and I followed her outside, And she led me out to this pasture where these 2 horses walked right up to the fence and let me pet them, and I just started losing it, but in like a different way. You see, just like waffles represent more than food, horses represent so much more than animals to me. They represent hope, they represent freedom, resilience, love, compassion. In that moment, I knew that I was going to be okay and that I was exactly where I needed to be. Later that day, however, I saw my first friend get taken away to the hospital. I was told that if she doesn't go to the hospital, then she's at risk of taking her own life. Later, past that, another one of my friends dropped and had a seizure, one in which I had never seen before, and was also taken away by the ambulance. Less than 2 days later, another one of my friends faints, hits the wall, hits the ground, and is taken away to the hospital. It felt like friend after friend I was seeing in crisis in ways that I had never experienced in my life. They were dropping like flies, panic attack after disassociation episode after flashback. The flashing red lights just kept coming to the building to take my friends away, and I didn't know if or when I was going to see them again. And that's something I had never experienced before. So I felt frustrated. I was like, how am I supposed to heal when all of this is going on? Like, I felt like I was in culture shock. How am I supposed to be able to work through my stuff in this chaos, in this pain? Like, it's just not possible for me. The more groups and sessions that I went to, the more I realized that it was going to be extremely hard for me to let these people in. It was going to be extremely scary because in my past, my narrative has always been that only pain follows connection. But what scared me even more was not letting them in, not showing up, not being vulnerable, because it became really clear to me that my original plan was wrong. It became clear to me that if I was going to heal in this place, connection was a big part of it, because whether I liked it or not, my eating disorder was not about the food. Over the next week, eating started to get a bit more comfortable, and my stomach started growling in the morning, which really freaked me out. What was happening to my body? What was changing? Did I even want to get better? Like, what does it mean to get better? What does it mean if I'm not sick anymore? Are people still going to care about me? Like, I wasn't comfortable with that. It was so hard to continue focusing on that while the people around me were all at their own place and all struggling and all just not okay. And people just kept telling me to keep my eyes on my own plate or stay in my own lane. But it's really hard to do that in an environment that felt so unstable. And eventually I started to really like the community that I was living in, which honestly was a bit convenient but frustrating. It was convenient because I was spending 24/7 with these people, but it was frustrating because I was scared of getting hurt, and I knew that this wasn't real life. This was a bubble. There was this rule where we all had to be in the common area at all times so that no one would isolate in their rooms. I secretly loved that rule because being with other people was extremely helpful for my depression and extremely helpful for just that time in my life, but I would have been too scared to ask to be around people because I was afraid of being needy. So having that be the rule was extremely convenient. Okay guys, I am going to pause this video there so that it doesn't get too long. I will make a third part of this video series explaining more about my experience at treatment in the next weeks to come. And just to give you guys a heads up, I have been working extremely hard trying to get things set up to start my Unity Project podcast, and I am extremely, unbelievably excited to introduce that to you. I am working with some really incredible creative people to make this thing happen, and I'm so excited to have these conversations. So please stay tuned. I'm going to be making more videos explaining things that will happen there. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, please feel free to let me know. I will do my best to get the next video in this series to conclude the letter out next week. I love you guys. Thank you for supporting me, and I will see you soon.